experience. All right, so I'm not going to say too much about it because I want to give you as much time as you need to share all what you've been feeling so far. And I know it's just the beginning. So please go ahead and share. Thank you.
Okay, well, my name is Andre Rochester. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to be here. And it's interesting because this is not my usual subject matter that I would talk about or present for that matter. But I had a near-death experience, and I feel that when you go through things that are traumatic or things that are, pivotal in life, the best way to process it is actually to talk about it. And so I agreed when Tina asked me to speak, because although I'm still processing, I felt the need to share my story. It wasn't that long ago when I had my NDE. It was only in September of last year, and it's relatively recent in terms of the stories that I've been hearing in this group since I joined, I believe, January. A lot of times I hear people telling a story about what happened years ago, or they've had multiple NDEs and so on and so forth. This is the first time that I've experienced anything like this, and as the terminology suggests, I came very close to death. So we'll get into what happened first, and then we'll talk a little bit about how it's affecting me personally and as an artist. Actually, I'm a painter, so I'm going to share some of my work with you this evening. So in mid-September of 2023, I went into the hospital. I was sent to the ER because I was in pain, and urgent care was like, "You got to go." So I listened, and I ended up having to go in for an emergency surgery. And that surgery was thing actually pretty minor. I just had to get something removed, and it turned out to become something that I'm sure has affected me, or will affect me for the remainder of my life. The surgery itself went well. However, recovery didn't start well. So the way I understand it, this is based on stories that people told me. The way I understand it is my lungs collapsed at some point. There was no air in my lungs. There was negative pressure. I made a gasp for air, and my lungs then collapsed and filled with fluid. The way that one of the doctors explained it to me is you have one side of your lung that's supposed to be oxygen, and the other side is fluid or blood. And your lungs are, the oxygen in your blood and everything. And so basically my lungs filled with blood, and they couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop my lungs from filling with fluid, and I was not stable for some hours. In order to stabilize me, one thing, I had to be transferred to another hospital. And I was on the verge of organ failure at that point. They decided to transfer me. And in order to save my life, I had to be placed in a medically induced coma. And so I woke up 4 days later in another hospital with a lot of questions and totally confused about what was going on. So after waking up and finding out, different stories about what the heck happened and why I was in a different place than where I started to remember some things. but there were things that I couldn't explain. There were things that I didn't really have much words for, but I knew their memories. They're things that happened. I felt them. It was as real to me as holding this mouse in my hand. Um, and then I started to think, well, maybe I'm hallucinating. Maybe maybe the meds are just really strong, and it kept coming back to me. And I'm still processing what it was that was coming back to me. Um, so during that time, while I was in the coma, I I don't remember seeing much, but I remember feeling a lot. I felt the presence of different entities. I felt spaces that I was in. I felt like I was somewhere else, but I wasn't allowed to see it like how one would see with their physical eyes. Um, what I felt was like an emergency happened, and everybody had to gather in a room and figure out how they're going to address it. Kind of like there's a council around me, like how some people use the term war room. There's a big problem, and you need all hands on deck because it wasn't my time. And what I felt was the conversations happening around me. What I felt was these entities, these spirits, these ancestors, these whatever term you associate with. They were trying to figure out what's going on. It was one of those, what is he doing here? It's not even close to time yet. And there was just this overwhelming feeling like I was floating. I was just in this dark space floating, and but still being held at the same time. Um, I don't remember words being said. I just remember like understanding. Kind of like when you see somebody else in a room and you make eye contact and you might share the same thought. Except in this situation, I just understand what's going on. I understand who may be talking, but I don't know the language, but I still know what's being said. I still know what the emotions are in the room or in this environment that I found myself in. Um, and it's weird sharing this. This is actually my first time sharing the NDE specifically out of my conversations with Tina. Um, I just remember this council being around me, but what was happening was this conflict. There's this kind of push and pull thing going. This thing had occurred to push me out, but there was still a force pulling me back. I later, after this time in the hospital, I said people really prayed me back, and I found out that so many folks in my community stepped in to help my family while I was in the hospital, and then afterward, while I'm healing from the actual surgery I went through. um, and I really do feel like I was prayed back here, and I feel like there was some force or something that was trying to take me away. And I got confirmation of those feelings not that long ago in a conversation that I had with a friend of mine that I'll talk about a little later. Um, but there's also another interaction that I had with an entity. Um, it was a negotiation of sorts. Um, I tell people I met the Reaper and we have an understanding because I feel like that's what it was. No, again, no words, only feeling and understanding. And I still didn't feel like I could. I still don't think I could see anything yet. I have these visions of things that happened around me. It's really weird, um, and it's still confusing to have had this experience and to one, I have a lot of people that I can really dig deep and talk a lot about it with, but to have this experience while in the coma, but also there's an experience going on physically with my body and with the other people around me, responding to this emergency situation where they may lose me. So it's like there's a council of sorts going on in both realms. There's the doctors, the nurses, my family, and all the other medical staff trying to figure out how to bring me back. And then there's this council, quite frankly, trying to figure out the best way to send me back because it wasn't my time. And I just remember this message, it's not your time. And that understanding with quote unquote the Reaper is he can't, they can't, it can't come back unless I let them. And I don't know what that means other than don't do shit that's gonna put your life at risk. But I feel like it is still much deeper than that. Maybe there are certain things that I need to avoid that aren't necessarily going to would bring about my fatality, but more or less things that could kill other parts of me. Um, I don't have a lot of vivid memory of what I experienced. I just remember this spirit realm of sorts that I was in. And I remember floating, and I remember just feeling overwhelming feelings. And it almost feels like there's a combination, I guess, that was not finished. There's a lot of questions that I have. Like, why did I experience this? But in the same token, I also feel like I came back with a lot of answers that I can't articulate. Meaning there's just this thing in my mind, there's this thing in my heart that says I need to go do certain stuff, and I'm just driven to do it. I mentioned being an artist, and I view that as my purpose. A lot of the stuff I do around my art it involves helping other people, and providing a service to other people. Um, I've always felt that I've been called to do art, and 2 years ago, I decided to answer that call, and so I always felt like I was walking in purpose already. Um, but now, after having this experience, it's like heightened. It's like 100 times more serious for me. It's like I take this thing so serious that like I almost feel like I would lose my life if I didn't do it. And I just feel this need to continue to use my art in a way that touches other people and reaches other people and helps other people and to tell my story. Um, there's a lot of personal narratives in my work. There's a lot of things that have moved me, a lot of subjects that I'm really deeply moved by that I express through my art. And it's a lot of vibrant color to draw your attention and to get you to feel things and to get you to interact a certain way, have certain conversations. But lately, since my NDE, it's been interpreting what my experience is and trying to make sense of where I was and what was going on around me in both realms. I feel like there's a lot that could unfold while working on these pieces, and I feel like I have to get this out through my art and to create something from it. Um, and I also feel like in talking to this group and hearing other stories that I've been able to get some confirmation that what happened was real. There was one speaker that talked about uh, the appearance of certain things during his NDE, and I find that I use that color palette in my work currently to kind of show what was going on and to create that atmosphere, that environment. Um, I've heard people talk about these overwhelming, just whether it's emotion, just a feeling of something, um, but not necessarily being able to describe it. And for me, I feel like that's spot on with what my experience was. Um, I wasn't shown a lot. I don't feel like I was shown a lot. I don't feel like I was supposed to see a lot. Again, because it wasn't really my time, and it was like a thing that it's kind of like a cliche with like a glitch in the matrix. This thing happened, and I ended up there, and they had to put me back, but they put me back with a much deeper understanding of why I'm here in the first place. And I'm just trying to make sense of it. That's really where I am with this. I'm just trying to make sense of it. Oh, this council, this being surrounded by these spiritual entities is something that I feel like never left me. I feel like I still have them somewhere near me, but I can't touch them. I can't talk to them. And now that I've had the experience, I feel like I still have things that I need to know and to understand and to discuss and to be revealed with me. And it kind of it's weird to say it, but like I want to go back, except without the dying part, because there's like these questions that I have, and I don't know like how else to describe it. But then it's like I know a lot at the same. Like I feel like I do things not now just based on faith and believing in myself and believing that something's going to go well. It's like I know something's going to happen because I said it was. And I only said it because I saw it. And it's really, well, it's just really odd. Um, but I'll present some of my work. Just give me a second here. I got yeah. So this first piece that I wanted to share with you all is actually from uh, 12, and it's called "Arise." My spirituality has been a part of my work throughout pretty much since I've been creating professionally. It's never been something that I've hid or been shy about. I've always said my faith is strong. My belief in there being a higher power or other entity out there, and there being certain things meant for me, and being able to get those things if I stay faithful and I've stayed purposeful in what I do has always been there. But this piece,
Andre, if I can just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Janice, I'd like to ask you to stop presenting so that Andre can share his screen. If you could click on the stop presenting button. Andre, can you go back to restart your presenting again?
sure, 1 second.
Janice, are you able to stop presenting? Maybe if you leave and go and come back into the call, you can stop presenting. Let me just try that.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I think we're.
Okay, let me try again.
Yes, yes, please try again, Andre. Thank you.
Can y'all see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. So this first piece is called Ascension, and it's about looking to the Most High to bring you out of a dark place. This piece is a prayer. Literally going through something and looking to that higher power to get me out of it. This is the first time that I've ever painted really in this color palette and created something that I would consider like a serious piece, meaning there's story and there's meaning behind it. But it being a spiritual piece, I chose this kind of all metallic color palette to give it like this kind of celestial feeling to it, because it's a very spiritual piece. So this is the first time that I've kind of dove into that. Joy Comes in the Morning, again, another piece that is really about getting out of a dark place. It's a person who's on the edge. They're looking at this body of water. They can't see the night sky that is clearing because joy comes in the morning. There's a change happening. Me, I feel like there's some kind of change that has happened or is happening with me. And these pieces are all from over 10 years ago, by the way, these first two. Now we get into, after my NDE, we have push and pull. Push and pull is, what I mentioned was happening during my coma. I was being pushed away and pulled back at the same time, and I'm just kind of floating, kind of in limbo of sorts. But not here, but also not far either. And so you have this image of these clouds, this again with the metallic kind of iridescent color palette, and there's the figure in this beam of light. And I wanted folks to be drawn into the clouds and the kind of brightness of the piece, but it's still subdued on purpose, because I want you to notice that body, that person that's floating in the air, and sit with that for a while. Like, to me, this is an illustration of that journey. When you've left your body and you're going to that next destination. A friend of mine told me that I wasn't there. And she was like screaming for me to come back. This is a person who is, they are clergy, they're a minister, and it only confirmed what I was feeling yet again. All right, this person telling me I'm not there, and they're calling me back. And then we have there's only 3 canvases so far in my newest body of work, by the way. But this piece I started in like November, so still fairly recent, fairly shortly after in the hospital. I'd only gotten back to work in late October, and then these next 2 here, it's called Passage. It started with the piece on the left, and then that same friend who told me I wasn't in my body made the suggestion that I extend it. And I'm probably going to stop at 3 panels, but at this point, it's covered. The left side is a little under 4 feet wide, and the right side is, which will actually be the center of the composition, the right side is 5 feet wide. And they're one panel is 16 inches tall, the other is 15 inches tall, so very narrow on purpose. And it represents 2 things. It represents the space of being in between and on your way to wherever it is, but also, kind of alluding to how I couldn't see anything. I wasn't allowed to see anything. So it's almost like when you close your eyes really tight, but you can still see the light in the room and everything's still blurry, but there's still this light that's coming in. And that's the point that I feel like I was at. Not allowed to see because it wasn't my time, but still revealed enough to know that it's real. And then just left with all these feelings after this, all these questions about, well, who did I just meet? Why me? Why this? Why this experience? And why now? Quite frankly, why now? I was very busy at the time that this happened, and as one would imagine, this is the type of thing that'll sit you down for a while. And so a month and a half without working, I had a lot of time to think and a lot of time to go through this experience over and over, a lot of time to kind of, try to figure out what actually happened, because at the point that I left the hospital, I still didn't know the exact story of how bad it was. And it was later revealed to me by the CEO of Hartford Healthcare, who made the call for me to be transported by helicopter. It was revealed to me that I was on the verge of organ failure. So that's where that part came. I got it from from the source. And the reason why he made that call is because a series of events happened while I was still unconscious at the original hospital. What saved my life was a friend calling my phone, my wife answering that call. My friend was calling me about a gig, and I'm glad that she did call me, because she called at the right time, because some decisions were going to have to be made about whether I was going to survive this and whether or not I would, die. And I was very close to death. And so my wife tells her the story of what's going on in real time. And my friend kicks it into high gear and starts making phone calls. And she calls somebody who had a relationship with Hartford Healthcare. She had done some business with them, and she had the CEO's number. And she called the CEO directly at about, from what I was told, like 10 o'clock at night, and he answered the phone. And after that brief discussion, within a half hour, I was on a helicopter. And, you talk about having guardian angels and, spirits that watch over you and look out for you. I mean, I can only say it was none but God that made my friend call me, because her timing was perfect. There was no other explanation that I have other than she was meant to call me at, well, yeah, she was meant to call me at that time, and that was, that was a part of the plan to get me back. And so, fast forward 4 days later, I wake up in the ICU, and that begins my little adventure that I'm currently on. So lately, after my NDE, a lot of great things have happened. I've launched a business, well, extended my current business. I've done quite a few speaking engagements, panels, various presentations and things like that. I've received recognition for my work as an artist and as a advocate and arts administrator in my community. I've been having great projects. A lot of great things have just been coming by. I can go down the list of whatever. But going back to my friend's conversation, I bought a painting from a friend of mine, and I was fortunate enough to get it on a payment plan because he's a little pricey. I made my last payment, and we had a conversation about, you need to confirm my address or whatever. And we were talking, and he was like, the devil tried to take you out because he knew what was on the other side of all this. And at that point, when he said that, I'm in the thick of it. There's like all kinds of like just greatness coming my way. All these wonderful experiences that I'm having. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Something did try to take me out, because whatever that was, it was keeping me from all this stuff that's happening right now. And, I thought I was living my dream prior to my NDE. Nah, it's only beginning. It's only the start of it. What's happening with me right now, and this level of just motivation and just being committed to all these things that I'm doing, and kind of, really, really walking with purpose, on purpose, and doing things because I truly feel like I've seen them happening. It is so real for me now. And that's why I say I came back with a bunch of answers, but I can't articulate them. I just know. And that's where I am, folks. That's been my experience since September 14th, 2023.
Oh, thank you, Andre. Great job. We had more than one conversations, and I'm sure we'll have more.
Mhm.
And because things are processing, and there is a question, but afterwards, if we have time, I would like for you to share what you said about the series that you're doing now in your art. Okay,
Mhm.
let's ask also true. Am I saying that right? Okay, your time. Ask your question.
You're on mute if you're trying to talk.
Paul, you're muted.
No, I'm not muted. I
No,
No, I'm talking to
Oso's
Paul.
muted.
also, okay,
Also
all
true.
right, okay. Well, how do we let him know that he's on?
Are you able to send a direct chat?
I don't know, but well, until
I
you
can text him,
okay.
Tina.
Pardon? I'm sorry. What did you say, Jane?
I can text him.
Oh, good. Thank you. So helpful.
Well, video's on.
That's another artist over there, Jane. You two need
Hi,
to.
Andre.
Hey, Jane.
Your turn, Paul. Paul. Oso? Hello?
You're on mute. Can't hear you, buddy.
You're muted.
You're muted. Oh, he's working on it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So, okay. Okay. So maybe Jane, can you, would you like to ask your question?
Sure. I'm also Andre, I'm an artist too, and I'm also working on just now starting to develop work that I do that's more influenced by, my own
Mhm.
spiritual experience and stuff. And I have a question about the paints you're using. Have you been guided to use iridescent paints or metallics or
Mhm.
things like neon even? Is that something that's I couldn't really tell from the pictures you showed if you were using actual iridescent paint.
Yeah, these are acrylic paints that I'm using,
Okay.
and they're like these pearlescent colors. Yeah, I'll show you. This is one of them. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
I you know, I'm being guided to also do visionary work use it, and I always use conventional paint, and
Mhm.
suddenly I was inspired to buy all these paints I would never have bought before, glitter paints and metallics and anything I could think of. So anyway, it's fantastic. I love your work. So keep
Thank you
up
so
the good work.
much.
Yeah.
Thank
It's
you.
only the beginning,
Yeah,
right?
Paul says he's ready. So
Okay.
hopefully.
Paul is ready. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Paul. Then it's ready.
Oh no, he says
No?
the call will not let him speak.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Oh, you know what? I'll have him text me the questions and then I will ask.
You're so
Okay,
helpful, Jane. Thank you.
that'll
Okay.
work.
Bethany, did you have a question?
Yes. Andre, thank you so much for your incredible story. It's so inspiring. I wondered, some of the things that you said that really resonated with me, that there were no words, just understanding, which I think is really amazing. You also talked about feeling overwhelming feelings. And can you share a little bit about the overwhelming feelings, or was a lot of people talk about feeling loved, but I wondered if there was a broader spectrum of feelings that you had in that experience.
It wasn't like fear. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't any of the emotions that one would normally use to describe feelings. Um, I mean, you can say I felt love because I felt like I was surrounded by familiar presence. It wasn't like I was lost, right? I didn't feel like that. I
Was
felt
it
like I was where I was supposed to be, and there was no sense of, oh my God, where am I? There's nothing like that. But I don't know if I could really describe it, to be honest with you. Like
safe?
maybe it's a little bit of everything. I definitely
Either
felt safe.
Andre, safe? Yeah.
I definitely felt safe.
Okay. Well, that comes close.
I was not in a place where I felt there was danger.
Thank you.
It did feel like a destination. It definitely felt like it is a place that we all go to. It just, I don't know. I'm having trouble articulating it.
That's fine, Andre. So, Jane, do you have the question?
Thank you, Andre.
I'm active again. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yep,
wonderful.
I can hear you.
Go
Hey,
ahead.
Andre, how you doing, brother?
Doing
Okay.
good.
If you'll accept that term. I'm exactly 23 years before you in an emergency surgery, 9/21/2000,
Wow.
and had a similar situation. Was there physical intent for what happened to you, or do you know why your lungs filled with blood?
So the way I understand it is my body just wasn't able to breathe on its own. Like there was nothing wrong with the surgery that anybody has told me. um, the way it was explained was I was going into recovery, you know, when they're getting you out of the anesthesia. And the only thing that I can think of for why my lungs didn't have any air in it was because they probably took the oxygen away and I must have exhaled or something. And next thing you know, I gasped. I
Okay.
really don't know.
You have to pick what you're going to choose, just as a friend that had something like that happen. 2 years after my surgical failure, I went after the hospital with a lawyer. We didn't win because hospitals play like combat. However, I met every nurse that was in the room and found out medication errors were made.
Mm.
And you may not want to go down that path. You mind if I ask you a couple things?
Sure.
I'm 20 some years post. Do you feel a specific calling beyond the artwork with everything that's going on in the world? Israel, everything, the solar storms. I mean, pick from the list.
I feel like as artists, it's our jobs to tell the story of the world around us. So to answer your question, yes.
Cool.
I do feel the need to paint other things. It's not just that one series that I'm working on. I just feel compelled to focus on that series. I've never shied away from anything that moved me that's happening in the world. I'm usually making pretty loud statements about it. It's a means to art, rather, is a means to create space for tough conversation.
Absolutely.
And that dialogue that needs to happen, but maybe we just don't know how to start it in a safe way.
Yep.
And so the art does that.
Just one other question, and I can let it go to other people. I don't mean to interrupt. Are you background as a veteran, or what's your background a little bit more?
I'm not a veteran. I've never been in military. My background, it's art.
Cool. Cool.
I haven't always been a full-time artist. I did spend some time in corporate America. I've worked in manufacturing. I've been a machinist, and I've been a quality auditor, and I've been a number of other things. But the one thing I've been the most is an artist.
Cool. Then one more question, and I'll shut up and I'll re-silence my mic. Thanks, ladies, for the help. Cultural background: Jamaica, Native. Do you know your grannies, your great grandparents? I work with Native people for 42 years.
So yes, my actually both of my grandfathers come from Jamaica, from two different parts of the island. My grandmother on my mother's side, her father was Native. And
Caribe? Do you know what Caribe is?
no, I'm not sure where that's from, but they're from Texas.
Okay.
My grandfather on my mother's side, he was actually Arawak.
Yep.
And,
Got it. Yep.
And Scottish or something like that.
Yep.
And that's from Jamaica.
Yeah, Arawak is a specific tribe connected to the Everglades in the Caribbean. Cool. You have an amazing story.
Thank you, Paul. We'll go to Jack right now. Thank you. You're muted, Jack.
No, okay.
Good.
Hey, Jack.
Hi, Andre. I very much enjoyed your experience, and your questions are interesting. I wanted to ask, as an artist, you are visual, and so at a certain point, you were in another realm. Is that correct? And can you describe that realm? I mean, did it have a horizon? Was it endless?
I
What
wasn't allowed to
color
see.
was it? I'm sorry?
I wasn't allowed to see. I felt it all. Nothing, nothing in my paintings is anything that I can confirm I saw, because I didn't feel like I saw it. I felt like I felt it. One thing though that a friend of mine did say is, just because you can't see with your regular eyes doesn't mean your third eye isn't open. And maybe that's why my interpretations look the way that they do. It might be something to that, but as far as seeing those entities around me, no, I didn't see them. I literally felt everything, and I don't remember seeing much, if anything at all.
And so were you able to feel things like temperature or warmth or sound?
I felt everything all at once.
And
Uh,
could you hear anything?
no, I hear voices. Like it was really like there was this thing going on around me, and I just understood what it was. Kind of like I gave the example earlier of like when you make eye contact with somebody, you're kind of like having the same thought with them.
Yeah.
Except in this situation, it's just a thought being shared.
Okay. All right. Then the other question is, can you tell me how you help people with your art?
Sure. So like I was talking to, I believe his name was Paul. Like I was talking to him, I was saying, art creates a space to have difficult conversations, and that's something I've done with my art for a very long time now. I use personal narratives from my own life experiences to share stories that send a message that we're not alone, meaning we're not alone in our struggles. We're not alone in overcoming these obstacles that life presents to us. And I like to present the emotional part of that. I want you to see that there's someone dealing with something in the painting, and I
Okay.
want you to be able to relate to what you're being presented with, right? And in doing so, you're sharing that experience with other people in the room, which leads to dialogue and hopefully leads to some kind of action. Like, for instance, if I'm talking about matters of social justice, I also run a fellowship for artists in Greater Hartford called the Artists of Color Accelerate Fellowship. I'm a past participant of that program, and now I'm the program manager for it. And this
Okay.
isn't using my art specifically. This is using my role within arts administration to help other artists. And we connect them with different organizations throughout Greater Hartford. They work on collaborative projects. They learn business. We have business coaching and business training provided to them, as well a few other services through the fellowship. And then I curate. I literally create spaces for artists to showcase their work. I'm
Excellent.
the art curator at UConn Health Center, and the same place that I do the fellowship at, which is called the 224 Eco Space, I curate in that space as well. And I've been independently curating for 10 years now.
Excellent. That's excellent. Well, thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
You're very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we got a few more hands up.
Jane, did you want to say something, or because Rebecca is next?
Are you on mute, Jane?
Yeah. You sound.
I didn't
There you go.
realize my hand was up. Sorry.
Oh, okay, very good. All right, so Rebecca, please turn the sound on.
Hi, Andre. Hi, everybody. I'm Becca. I came late and I'm very disappointed with that, but I heard some things and I just wanted to say that the panel
Mm-hmm.
painting you did, the long narrow,
Oh, passage.
what is it called?
Passage.
Yeah, that one had every hair on my body standing up and all the goosebumps and the chills that I get. And so that I wanted to just acknowledge that. I'm not quite sure exactly what it was, but I felt a connection to that middle white line through the whole thing. Like, and then when you were sharing, answering some other questions, like you weren't allowed to see, you just felt and knew, and I appreciate you sharing that, because that was my experience. And someone said to me once, well, you were born, but you don't remember that. So
Mm.
I was in the presence of the, you know, of what I call, you know, I call God, whatever. But I couldn't see it, but I can now, in a way that, like you said, is hard to describe. I can't, and I wanted to ask you, other than the art, are you having any experiences as a result of that experience that I missed before, your traumatic, you know, injury or sickness? And
I mean, you asking if I'm having any other like spiritual type of experiences,
yeah,
or
anything that's different.
hmm. I mean, really just kind of operating just under this feeling that I just know what I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be. You know, kind of I have I guess an heightened intuition of sorts. Definitely heightened emotion. All of the above. uh, Everything is just kind of, you know, it's not to an extreme, but it's just enhanced. Like I just feel more. Um, that's kind of, I mean, that's really it for now. In terms of any experiences that I've had aside from the you know, the NDE, you know, being interpreted through my artwork. I think just having a heightened awareness is the main thing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Rebecca. Willie, you're on.
I keep losing the connection, so if I'm gone, that's why. Am I
Okay.
the only one having this problem? I hope nobody else is having it. Anyway, I've always thought that at some time we're going to reach a point where we're going to make the connection, this world to the afterworld. So I'm just wondering, with your work and your paintings, I saw one of them looking up. Do you think that in some way you are trying to make that connection again with your paintings and your artwork?
Yes, I do. I do. Uh, you know, like I said earlier when I was talking, you know, it's like an unfinished conversation. I feel like there's so much more to be said, but there's so much more to heard either also. And there was a dialogue of sorts going on, and I kind of feel like I was prematurely taken out of it, even though I was supposed to be taken out of it. Right? You know, how there's things you're just not supposed to know yet,
Mm-hmm.
and I just got that little taste of that, and there's, you know, there's a desire to return, but, you know, again, I'm not trying to die or almost die to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather, you know, I would rather that not be a part of the equation. But there's a feeling that there was something else for me. And now that I've had the experience, it's like, well, how do I reconnect? And for me, connection has usually been through my art. So it's kind of like I'm doing a thing that I know. And right now it's interpreting what I experienced, but, you know, there's a big part of me in that, you know, in that process of creating that wants to reconnect with who or whatever I was around.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you. Paul, are you on?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Tina.
Very good.
Andre, if it's okay, because I've been through this, do you know which hospital you were air evac from? What was the first service hospital?
I'd rather not say.
That's okay. Everything that
Not
I work
touching.
with, I keep confidential, but that's okay.
There's, there's a conflict as to why I would not want to actually say it.
Copy. I understand.
This is going, it's going to be recorded, so I
Oh,
can.
right. Sorry.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Andre, a question. Your lungs filled up with fluid, you said?
Yeah, so I didn't have any air in my lungs, and I took a gasp for air, and instead of taking in air, my lungs filled with fluid because they collapsed.
Interesting. I worked in hospitals. There's a reason I'm asking the questions.
So what I'm told is there was negative pressure in my lungs, and that's what caused me to collapse.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the medical term was.
There's not much medical explanation for that term. Just one other question. Did they shave your chest? No. Okay.
No, surgery wasn't even on my chest. There was literally nothing to do with my lungs other than I needed to breathe.
Understand.
Yeah.
I guess one other question, and then I'll shut up. I know some of the people there, and forgive me, it might help you. Have you had any body changes like heating, sweating, or anything that's new to your body since you came through this?
Not really.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Not that I've noticed.
Okay. Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you,
Okay.
Tina.
Bethany?
Yes, thank you so much. Andre, I'm so enjoying this, and I'm trying to behave myself and not ask too many questions.
That's the way. I'm an open book. I don't mind talking.
I want to make sure that other people have a chance to ask their questions too. And one of the things that I research is integration. And so some of the things that people report after returning from their near-death experience, they talk about sensitivities to different physical stimuli, light or sound, or being around other people. I'm just wondering if you find, before your NDE versus after, if you've had any challenges with just being overwhelmed, like with like a scent, or if your physical senses make you feel overwhelmed, or if the presence of a lot of people make you feel overwhelmed, or if you have trouble interacting with technology. Those are some of the common ones.
Well, actually, I actually did mention this earlier, that I have this heightened emotions, like just heightened emotions. And there was one particular thing that happened while I was in the hospital that I'm still kind of working with. It wasn't a hospital related issue. It was actually non-related to anything medical. It was a conflict between me and another person that kind of continued at the wrong time. I would say my response to that, in how I was feeling and what I was thinking, was very extreme. I'm glad that it went into a situation where we were like going to be face to face or anything like that. But how I felt after what was said to me was not okay, and it was a bit much for me. So seeing how I was feeling after that and kind of recognizing like this isn't normal for me, I did decide to go to therapy. So I've had a therapist who I've been seeing weekly, pretty much since like December, January, something like that. Because I need to work through, why the hell am I feeling like this? And why is it that there are other things going on that are giving me these types of feelings? Why is it so extra? And I'm thinking that there is something there, related to the trauma that I experienced, the trauma that my family went through. I don't know if it's like a PTSD situation or if I'm just, having trouble processing everything that's going on. But I feel like I'm doing the necessary things to make sure that I'll be all right.
Thank you for sharing that. I wonder, is your therapist someone who, have you shared the NDE or that you had an NDE with the therapist?
No, I've only addressed the situations that have come up with the therapist. I didn't talk about having an NDE. This is my first time really sharing this with anybody outside of like maybe a few text messages here and there to a couple people. Like I have not shared this story that much, and I haven't gone into much detail when I did.
Okay.
So grateful. So grateful, Andre. And remember, I keep reminding you that we're here to support you as well. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Since
Well, actually, Tina, I have more questions.
Okay, go ahead.
But it looks like Paul's hand is up, so I
Yeah,
don't want
Paul's
to.
hand is up.
Actually, I didn't do that, so that's really odd. But I would, Andre.
Yeah.
Look, I grew up in Hartford, Windsor area,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been in about 5 countries over the last 10 years. If you need to talk at all, Tina knows how to get a hold of me. I understand the conflict issue potential. There's another question. Do you have a couple kids?
I have one kid.
You have one kid.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have any dreams about what was going on with you, or how old are they?
Oh, I wouldn't know. My son is only 17 months.
He's only a baby. Oh,
Yeah, he's only.
My son is only 3 months old, and
wow.
he's doing quite well and is exhibiting some things. Do you dream at night since you had this experience?
I've always dreamed.
I thought so.
My dreams are usually vivid.
Copy.
I think it's why my art's so colorful.
Yeah. Do you fly at night?
You said, do I fly at night?
Yeah, like Superman.
No, I don't. Sometimes I feel like I have a cape, but no.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much for sharing. It's an interesting and valuable story you're sharing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Bethany, you have more questions?
I do have more questions because I'm just curious about. I think it's really great that that you're getting support for what feels like maybe PTSD, and I wonder about the has your NDE affected your relationships? I'm thinking like with your partner and that type of thing. Like, have you found yourself responding differently to them than you have in the past, and have they noticed a difference in you?
Yes. They haven't told me that they noticed a difference, but I've noticed a difference.
Can you? I don't want to pry, but like, have you maybe some general differences that you've noticed about yourself?
Just less patience. Less patience. We'll leave it at that. Just, like I said, I have heightened emotions. Like if I'm really happy, I'm really happy. Yeah, I think it's more of like the emotive responses. Like, I'm going to laugh extra hard, or I'm going to feel extra down. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
That's interesting. And do you find that the intensity of the emotion provokes tears or anything like that? Like you tend to you may be happy and you're so happy you're crying, or
in the hospital, I would feel overwhelmed. There were times when I was in the hospital, I feel just overwhelmed. Like there's this rush, and I would feel like I had to cry or something. And it's like nothing happening around me, other than being in a place I don't want to be. But it wasn't that type of sadness. It was just like an overwhelming rush of emotion just would hit me.
Wow, Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So before we go to Rebecca, Bethany, are you all set for now?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca, sound?
Hi, Andre again. I would love to hear your story. I had something that I couldn't get away to. I guess I can hear it recorded. But I just wanted to say I'm relating with you so much. I call those chills my little truth chills. Like, pay attention, Rebecca.
Mm.
It's my near-death experience, and I thought it was PTSD for me, but it wasn't. It changes. It just changed me. Just changed everything about me. Everything that Bethany was asking about, those symptoms, I've had every one of those.
Mm.
My whole life has changed. The way I communicate with people is different. But someone once told me that, I came here, I think it was one of the first times I came to this support group, and I was like, definitely not happy. Was not happy to be. I was somewhere where I was begging to stay, not asking. I was begging, but I was being loved at the same time, and I was being told, sorry, you've got to go. But I just wanted to identify, I guess, in saying that time has made a difference, and time has proven more and more things. And my heart is so connected now that I am getting better at being able to handle being here again.
Mm.
It's kind of like you're existing in two worlds now. You can't go there and then be here and not be affected.
Yeah.
You can't be in the, how do I say this without sounding religious, because I'm not religious. You can't be in the presence of the Almighty, the creator of all, and then just come back and go, oh yeah, all right, off to the grocery store again. You know, everything is different.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I can so relate to that.
Yeah, it's just completely different. The memory of my angel, my guardian angel, has come back to me. I wrote about that recently. I started writing. I was told to write my story, so I started doing it, and it took me so long. I've just but I wanted to say that don't mistake, you'll know best.
Mm-hmm.
So will that higher power, whatever you refer to it as, creator, source, there's a million for it, but they'll let you know. You, like you said, it's a conversation, and it's been going on, but now, like, whoa, now I'm paying attention, and even more. And I think that's the purpose of it, to kind of, your art is doing stuff. It affected me. I'm like thinking, how can I get a copy of that? I want to put it in my apartment. I want that energy around me, because that energy gave me a reaction. And not like a reaction at an art show. That gave me a spiritual reaction. And that's what I need to surround myself with to continue existing on this planet until I'm ready to, let me rephrase that, until it's my time to go wherever I'm going, hopefully back there after that, because yeah, this has been a hard adjustment. And someone here told me that too. And they said it took them years to not feel a lot of things we're just saying, and some things I've experienced. So that, say thank you. It's nice to identify with people, for me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I just hearing you talk, I feel a bit more normal.
Yeah.
Because somebody else has felt what I felt, and and understands where I'm coming from when I share this. Let me ask you a question. Did you feel an overwhelming sense of urgency after your experience?
Well, I was in a hospital recovery room, So did I feel an urgency? Yes, a desperation, urgency to make sure that I wasn't being brought back, but I was being brought back, and they were gently pulling back.
Mm.
And, and so, yeah, that's begging. And that's when I was like, please, no, no, no. And I have 3 children. There's nothing on this planet that would take me away from them. But I just realized like 2 weeks ago, I was like, whoa, that was the only thing that I ever experienced that I would even consider leaving my children. I would never. So there was that sense of urgency, like my arms were out, I was reaching out. I think a recovery room attendant had to put my arms back inside the hospital bed.
Wow.
Like, where don't you want to leave? Where do you want to stay? And she wiped my tears, and then she just rubbed my head. She said, it's going to be okay. And then those arms went around my torso, and they just so gently, just like were pulling me down, like your picture. And that the man was in between. It was like that was being brought back into my body, which obviously my body was in a hospital bed, but what I call my spirit or my soul was somewhere else. So yeah, I did feel an urgency. It did. Yeah.
I feel this like really strong sense of urgency in my work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just my artwork, it's all of the work that I do. Mind you, everything I do really is art related. So it's all connected in some way, but just in the stuff that I'm involved in, it's just this heightened sense of urgency. Like, I have to do this. I have to.
But I think that's probably for a reason, and that's why you had this. But I think it'll just kind of keep. I don't know, pray, meditate, however you do your thing. Just keep doing that, and it'll just balance out. It'll balance out, and just give it some time. Just give it time. Yeah, you're good.
Thank you, Rebecca. Bethany, and then Willie.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to go back to you had said that you were impatient. And I think that in the, what Rebecca was sharing about a sense of urgency, and you describe impatient, but I'm wondering if it's because a lot of NDEers report they just don't have time for small talk, and they don't want to spend time, discussing the weather or anything that really is not meaningful to their mission. And I'm wondering if that's what you mean by impatient.
Yeah, I can kind of be like that. I'm an introvert normally anyway. So small talk has not always been my thing. It's usually an awkward experience.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like we got to talk about something of substance.
That's right.
Everything has to have
Thank
substance.
you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now, Willie.
Okay, it's not a question. It's just a statement to the group here. I've been at these meetings when we were back in West Hartford, showing up in person. So it's been quite a while, and we've had a lot of experiences and people that we talk to. I think somehow that we should have or there should be a purpose or an aim. My first question was, are you having a sense that you want to contact through your art? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If we knew that there was life in another planet, we would try to contact that life. Well, we know that there is life in another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think somehow our aim should be making contact with that other life in that other dimension so that we can have an interaction and so that we can learn from that other dimension, perhaps how to live better in this dimension. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Willie.
You're welcome.
Did you want to respond, Andre?
like I mentioned before, yeah, I do feel like I need to reconnect. Like it's an unfinished conversation,
Yeah.
and it may be my work is how I do that going forward. Maybe it's something else. I really don't know. But at this point, I can only speak to where I am now in this, this post NDE journey, and I just there's a lot of curiosity right now about what happened, how's it affect me, how's it affecting everybody else, how were other people affected by it, the similarities between their stories and my stories. Like I wish I got to see what I was feeling.
Okay.
I really do wish I got to see what I was feeling.
Your journey is not over, Andre.
I'm a visual person, and
Right.
not being able to see is tough for me.
Thank you for sharing. Now, Kathy, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Andre, thank you so much. I really appreciated your story, and I felt like you really articulated it beautifully, that which wasn't articulated really to you that you just felt. So, but I feel like you really articulated that very well. My NDE was when I was age 5. So, for me, it's just wondering how much is from the NDE and how much is from the rest of my life. And I found it interesting. I know for my whole life, I've always had this feeling of it used to be caught between the world of spirit and the world of matter. But I have since been able to, in my spiritual path, acknowledge that I'm the bridge between spirit, matter, heaven and earth. So that's been a help. But when you spoke about the urgency, I feel like I've always had that kind of urgency, but for me, it's more like a purpose-driven life type of thing. Just always feeling like, I got to be doing my purpose. I gotta serve. I've got to do what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I feel like when you mentioned your urgency, I just felt like because of the times that we're in, that I think it's kind of a call to all of us, a sense of urgency that it's time for us to act and live out our purpose. Yeah, I think urgent is a good thing. I think we're all in that place. I assume anyway. I guess I shouldn't speak for everyone, but certainly for myself. So I just appreciated how brave of you to come and speak. And I'm so grateful. And I really feel like now that you have really opened up and spoken, I feel like it's going to open up a lot more for you. So I pray that is the case for you. So blessings to you. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
I see Rebecca left a comment here. Is it possible the new artwork is your feelings from that experience showing you what you saw without seeing, because it felt something from what you felt? But yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's an interpretation. It's an interpretation of the environment that I felt I was in. And I'm presenting it in the best way I know how, and trying to, they tell you to be descriptive about stuff when you're saying something. This is me being descriptive. I don't have the words, so I got to put it in a picture for you. Like I have a lot of trouble articulating what it was, so I have to show you.
That's right.
And just going back to the basics of communication. We communicated with pictures first. And so I have to start there before I can truly be able to articulate the things that the information that I came back with.
Very good. Thank you. It's getting to be 8:30, and I know that Paul has another question. Bethany, did you want to stop the
Yes, I'll stop the recording now and certainly
Anybody
let
that wishes to stay longer, please do.